To record it.
Does it record automatically?
Yeah, it's recording automatically.
Okay. Awesome. And it is 6 o'clock. Welcome to the weekly broadcast for Fearless Man Live, and or not the Fearless. It's not the Fearless Man Live. We'll be talking about that at the end of the broadcast. But welcome to the weekly broadcast for Fearless, our live broadcast. And I look forward to continuing our talk about the nice guy. We're going to start by answering some questions from last week, and then we're going to play a little bit with understanding how to process a lot of the emotions around the nice guy and what comes up and so forth. And processing emotions in general, really. And because a lot of us, where we're getting stuck is we're holding so much inside that we're, especially men really love to hold on to their emotions that we're not facing and not dealing with. And this keeps us from moving to the next level. We're trying to, in essence, put on fake personas, fake behaviors to cover up our insecurities. So confident guy stands like this, I'm going to stand like a confident guy. I'm going to look people in the eyes and hold eye contact because that's what I was told to do to be confident, which is true. But if internally you're still nervous and scared and you haven't dealt with that, then the eye contact can be too powerful. It can be too weak. It can be there can be a lot of nervous energy transmitted. Same with touch, same with voice. All this subcommunication gets messed with because you haven't dealt with your emotions around your fears of being a nice guy. Now, last week we had a number of questions come up, and I know there were some questions from, I've only got one name on one of these viewers, so sorry if I can't credit all the questions. But the first one I know she wrote quite a bit in was Jill Snow White. And so I want to answer one of her questions this week. She basically asked a question about, I'll just read it to you. Just suddenly realized that part of my reactive anger and desire for power grows from the fear of being overpowered in a bad way, AKA turned into a nice girl. Being weak, losing my integrity and freedom is so frightening that I overcompensate with firing anger every time anyone tries to press me into doing something I don't want to do. Now that's reactive, it sounds like. So when I hear that, I hear that there's a reaction to the emotion of being overpowered or what you perceive as overpowered. And whether we're nice guy, nice girl in your case, or whether we're overly reactive and not nice at all, pushing back really hard and saying basically, fuck you, get away. In both cases, it's overreactive. One is I'm trying to get validation, or let me take care of you, let me make you happy. And the other is I'm overreactive, get the fuck away, get away from me. And in both cases, you're letting the other person have power over you. True freedom comes from being proactive with your emotions and free on this from the polarity of the two sides. You got two sides going on here, too nice and overreactively to pushing back. And if you feel those two polarities, somewhere, I would almost say somewhere in the middle is right, but it's not exactly right either. Because in reality, it's both of them at once. It's this ability to play anywhere on this scale as needed consciously and in a present way. Yes, you can say no to somebody. If it's something you don't want to do, say no. And say no clearly. But you don't have to, but if you have to lose control or lose control of your emotions to do it, there in that is something to learn. There's a nugget, there's some gold for you to grow in a beautiful way. And it's an opportunity for growth, and it's amazing. If you find yourself being overly pleasing and nice, there's also an opportunity to grow in there and to learn from that polarity. So in that, you've got this overreactive nature bouncing back and forth between two polarities. And you'll see this with nice guys too. They'll be nice, 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 nice. And then they'll finally get fed up because they've been nice for too long, not saying no. And they could have easily just said, no, I don't want to do that one day, in a calm, relaxed way. But instead, they agreed to everything everybody said for maybe 6 months, 3 months, maybe even a year in some cases, trying to make everybody happy. And then not showing up to all their obligations because they said yes to too many things. And then they lose it and blow, and they go the other side of the polarity, and they start screaming and yelling, and they get really mad at somebody. And a lot of times it's the person they're closest to. And then they overreact. Then they go into guilt and shame, and they apologize for it. and they pull back away, and then they try to go back into the nice guy, excuse me, not pull back away, then they go back into the nice guy pleasing behavior again. In some cases, they do pull away too. Some cases they blow up. Some cases they pull away and shut down completely. This is another nice guy tendency. Be overly nice, overly nice, overly nice. And when they can't handle it anymore, it's all built up inside of them because they're not asking for what they need, telling what they need. They go disappear and hide in their cave for a while to regenerate. And then they come back overly nice, hide in their cave. Overly nice, hide in their cave. Then overly nice, can't take it anymore because it went too far because they said yes to too many things, blow up, then come back, try to repair it, then hide in their cave. And there's all kinds of variations of this bouncing around. So for you, it's about getting used to your anger, not trying to repress it, not pushing it down, but learning to accept it. So in releasing processes, and there's different ones. There's a great book called Letting Go by David Hawkins. And there's a great book, there's Sedona Method by Hale Dwosky, and it all comes from Lester Levinson, who has passed away. And so what I would recommend is that you start to get used to the two sides of the polarity. As soon as you become used to your anger, as soon as you start to get comfortable with it, as soon as you become used to being a nice girl, and you stop making it wrong, because it's not wrong, it's just an experience, right? And you start to, what happens is you start to relax into it, and then you start to learn from it. And when you start to learn from it, you start to, when you become non-reactive to it anymore, then you can start to learn to process the information properly. You say, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. So how you do this is very simple. You start to learn to feel your body first. To be able to release, you have to feel your body. You have to relax into your heart. You have to relax into your stomach. And this is a really simplified version of the way we teach releasing. It gets much, much more in depth. So we're going to stick with just basics here. And so the first thing I want you to play with tonight, and this is for everybody on the call that's paying attention right now, is the idea of welcoming. If you've got this polarity going on where you're bouncing back and forth, or maybe you tend to one side more than another. Like, for example, Jill said she tends towards being no, 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 and angry and putting walls up so she doesn't get taken advantage of. Then what I want you to do is start with that side of yourself that holds a lot of anger, that holds a lot of tension, that's afraid of tension, that's afraid of being taken advantage of, and just welcome that side of yourself. Welcome any experience or feeling or sensation around the idea of being taken advantage of. And then just sit with it for a minute. Feel your heart. Don't do this from your head. If you're thinking about it or analyzing it, you're doing it wrong. Feel your heart. Feel your stomach. And just welcome or allow yourself to feel whatever comes up at the idea of being taken advantage of not saying no, or the experience of saying no and being too abrupt. And just notice what comes up. Notice the feelings, the emotions, the sensations, the thoughts, and just watch them go by. Don't even analyze them. And just notice what they feel like, and start learning to relax into the feeling. And then try welcoming the other side. Welcome the side that gets taken advantage of from time to time. It's too nice. It's too pleasing. And notice what that side looks like, what thoughts, emotions, and feelings come up. And then sit with that for a moment. The side that's always trying to make everybody happy. It's trying to get everybody to be happy or pleased with what you do. And then welcome the part of you that says no, loses control, explodes, gets angry reactively. And notice what that feels like again. And sit with that for a second. And just ask your body, the core of your body, to relax into that feeling and all the thoughts and the emotions and the sensations that come up. Good. And then begin to let that go, and then go to the side that feels really taken advantage of from time to time, that feels really reactive to being nice, needing to be nice to everybody, take care of everybody. It doesn't know how to say no, or has a hard time saying no. The part that feels guilty when you say no. And then welcome that part. And then notice all the thoughts and the sensations and the emotions that come up. And again, feel with the core of your body. Just sit with it for a moment. And then let that go and go to the other side again. And welcome the part of you that says no reactively, that's abrupt, gets angry. Notice what that feels like. Notice the thoughts and images and feelings that come up, and see if you can relax into them just a little bit more. Whatever's coming up, any memories, and just relax into that a little bit more. And then go to the other side again, the side that's super reactive and super nice, that wants to please everybody. It really wants people to be happy and like you. And notice what memories are coming up, what feelings in the body, what sensations. And just relax into that as much as you can. Don't push it, just notice it. And if there's any resistance to doing that, welcome that too. And then go to the other side one more time and feel that part of you that's really reactive to being told what to do or asked to do something, that feels taken advantage of easily and gets angry and says no and puts the wall down really abruptly in a reactive way. Whether that only happens once in a blue moon or whether that happens all the time. And just notice what memories, thoughts, and feelings, sensations come up from that. And then go back to the other side, the part of you that's overly nice, or is afraid of being overly nice, afraid of being taken advantage of. It's reactively nice. And notice what thoughts and feelings come up from that. And then begin to ask your body to just let it all go. Can you let all this go? Just let both sides go. Just notice what it feels like to let both sides of the polarity go. And maybe you can only let a little bit go. Maybe you can let it all go at once. Whatever happens is perfectly fine. And just notice if there's any sense of getting just a little bit lighter, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable with feeling all of this. Notice if there's any sense of taking a deeper breath and just letting go even more. And as you begin to do this more and more, and you could do this process for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, this is just going back and forth between the polarities and playing with both sides and getting used to feeling both sides and not getting attached to one side or the other, not analyzing, just feeling what comes up. In time, the polarities start to get a weaker hold. Different thoughts and images and feelings will come up, but they'll get weaker and weaker in their ability to hold on to you. Now, I've had to take stuff that was really tough for me, and I had to do this many times, maybe over a month, 2 months, 3 months, or maybe in one day, one visit, it all goes away. It's different every time. I've done intensive work with releasing different forms of it. There's lots of forms. This is just one. This is a polarity-based release, where I've done this work intensively for a week, and then I have a huge shift. And I've done intensive work for 10 minutes and had a huge shift. We only did a minute or two of it, a few minutes here and there. And what I want to invite you into is going back and forth and feeling it. Then every once in a while, just surrendering and relaxing and letting it all go for a little bit, which means literally just relaxing and letting all the images and thoughts go. What you don't want to do is keep focusing on the images, trying to figure them out, trying to understand them, trying to figure out if they're gone or if they've changed. If you feel a little bit more relaxed after moving from side to side, something's changed. Maybe it's just a little bit, maybe it's 1%, but that's all you need. Because 1% leads to 2%, leads to 3%, leads to 5%, leads to 10%, it compounds. And maybe in a little bit of time, well, definitely in a little bit of time, you start to get bigger and bigger changes in these areas. So the process of releasing is welcoming whatever the experience is, the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts, noticing what's there and how heavy they are. And this is a real basic process we're doing right now. And then noticing, and then asking your body if you can let it go. We'll just go with that for now. Asking your body if you can let go of whatever emotions, thoughts, or feelings are there. And if your body doesn't want to let it go, then acknowledge that. Just let yourself acknowledge the resistance, welcome the resistance, and then begin to notice if there's any want or desire attached to it, any want to control it, want for approval, want for security, one for control, one for separation, or one for oneness. These are the basic ones. And if you feel a want or a desire in either direction, then begin to let that go. And then go back and release on the emotion again. We'll play with this a little bit more today. And we'll play with a different version. So I'm going to go on to the next question. And the first one was a polarity-based release. That second one I did was just the standard releasing process, okay? And after each question, I'll play with it a little bit. So the next question, I don't have a name on this one. It says, hey, I ask again about different kinds of tensions. For me, there is heavy, hard, uncomfortable tension. And for sure, there are tendencies to avoid that. There is a kind of ecstatic tension. It feels like the body is being bursting. And there's also a tendency wanting to drop out of that and shut down and be an ecstatic tension. It needs, and be in this ecstatic tension, it needs so much awareness, honesty every second, and sensitivity to stay there in this high energy state. So there is avoidance of that tension and blissful tension. Doing explorations with these two, I'd like to hear your experiences about these possible other kinds of tension. So the way I look at it, basically what he's saying is there's two types of tension he's feeling. The tension that's flowing through him and is almost too much for him to handle, and the tension that he's just avoiding and he doesn't want to deal with because it builds up. And I always say there's tension and resistance and tension and flow. And so I always liken it to a bodybuilder. If you're lifting weights, and you're wanting to grow muscle, if you lift too little of a weight, it's going to be boring. Not much is going to happen. So that's an easy tension to deal with. There's not much tension. You're taking it way too easy. You're not pushing your boundaries. Now, you could start to lift too much weight, which is going to be a lot of times in the case of, well, let's even start one step before that. You could avoid lifting weights altogether because you just don't want to deal with it. And that's the avoidance of tension. Then you could lift too much weight, which could hurt you. It's going to feel really uncomfortable. That's tension and resistance, right? And so think about that. That's this sense that I'm going to hurt my muscle. I'm taking it too far. That's tension and resistance. Then there's lifting just the right amount of weight. Okay. And lifting just the right amount of weight is going to have a lot of resistance on it, but you're still going to be able to work through it. And it's going to tear the muscles just enough for perfect growth. And that's where you grow from. That's kind of this ecstatic spot he's talking about. Now, it is possible when you hit just the right amount of tension to let it flow through your body so much that it feels really uncomfortable. That's what he's talking about. When it starts to feel so good, it feels really uncomfortable. And then you go back to shutting down again too. And that's all perfectly fine. So what I want you to work on is feeling the tension and looking for that sweet spot. Looking for that spot where the tension just feels really good. And what'll happen is there's this tendency to want to get more of that. As soon as you hit that sweet spot, it's like, oh, I want a whole bunch more. Just relax and get used to where you're at for a little bit. Then when you're used to that and you've gotten comfortable with it, then you can expand a little bit more. There's no rushing the process. You don't need to rush it. A bodybuilder needs to heal. He needs to learn to grow. He needs to take time off. He needs to relax. He needs to get nutrition. He needs to heal his body. He needs to rest so he can grow. And then it gets stronger again. And then he can go lift a little bit more. Well, it's the same thing here. If I go out and I start working on eye contact, I'm afraid of eye contact. And let's say I look at somebody in the eyes solidly for the first time. Normally I'm looking away all the time. But as I'm walking down the street, I'm looking at strangers in the eyes. And somebody holds eye contact back with me. And maybe I nod so it doesn't get uncomfortable for them. And for me possibly because I'm nervous. But I keep holding that eye contact. There's going to be a part of myself that's going to feel it, will probably get excited, but also want to pull away because it's going to be too much too fast. And then that's when you're starting to go, when it gets to be too much too fast, you start to go back into tension and resistance. You start to go, okay, I'm stretched beyond my limit. That's too much, but I want more of this. That's the perfect spot. Play in that spot. Play in that spot and learn to stretch right there. And just if you can hold it for a few seconds and you have to look away, then do that 4, 5, 10 times that day, maybe 20 times, whatever you feels comfortable for you. And then rest, relax, let it go. Be proud of the fact that you did that. because pretty soon that will start to become comfortable for you. You'll be able to look somebody in the eyes, and that'll be really easy, and you'll actually start to enjoy it. And that'll be the next level of tension. And as soon as you start to enjoy that and you start to feel relaxed into it, and it feels like this nice flowing tension, then push it a little bit more. See where your boundary is. Push it a little bit beyond your boundary. Stretch a little bit again. And you don't need to rush this process. I always say it's better to be consistent and do a little bit more each day than it is to try to do it all at once. I see a lot of guys that are going out there that are trying to grow their tension skills, and it's like they're trying to jump the Grand Canyon. They want to make a giant leap all at once. It's much more powerful to make a little tiny growth each day with your tension skills, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. What happens is it's just like compounding interest. If you know how compounding interest works, it seems like not much is happening the first week, 2 weeks, sometimes even 3 weeks, and then suddenly, boom, there's this huge growth. It's going to be different for everybody. It might be from the beginning of 1 week to the end of 1 week. It might be the beginning of 1 month to the end of 1 month. It might be the beginning of 1 month to the end of 3 months. Everybody's a little different. But if you keep the consistent action, working out every day, pushing your tension skills every day, maybe practicing for 30 minutes, an hour, some people a little bit more, you can actually, whatever you can do consistently is what's important. So if you're going to do, if you can do 2 hours a day and you have the space and the time and it's enjoyable and you're going to stay consistent with that, that's fine. But if you can only do an hour a day, that's fine too. Think of it like working out. If you wanted to build those big muscles, you wouldn't go to the gym every day or once a week and try to get all your exercises in for that week. You would spread it out over the week. You'd also take time to rest. You'd take time to reevaluate what you did and learn a little bit more. And so the next time you go in, you have a little bit more awareness. So all this has to be applied to the tension skills. So if you go and apply too much tension too fast, you're going to go into tension in resistance, and you're going to start to shut down on the tension. But if you go just that sweet spot where you start to lift, it's going to start to feel exciting. It's going to feel like you're learning. That's where you're growing from. And you might have to play in that range for a few days. Sometimes you do go flat, just like lifting weights, where it doesn't seem like much changes for a few days. And then suddenly there'll be a growth again. As long as you keep playing in that sweet spot. And I hope that answered that question. So just take a moment and let's play with the same one. Let's play with polarity again, and just take a moment and notice what tension. And I want you, sit down again and get relaxed for everybody that's out there, and start to feel the front of your body again. Start to feel the heart. Start to feel the stomach, and just imagine there's like a little window there, and you could ask that window to open, and there's a sense of opening in your chest. And then remember back to a time when you felt tension and resistance, specifically when you pushed it too far. And just welcome that tension and resistance for a moment, and welcome that memory or that feeling, whatever comes up. And notice if your heart starts to want to shut down or your body starts to want to tighten or close anywhere, and then just see if you can relax and open back up a little bit. Keep feeling that tension. Keep welcoming it. Keep allowing it. And notice what that feels like. Just take a deep breath all the way down into your body and keep welcoming that experience, that memory. And see if your body can just relax a little bit more into the memory, into the feeling of what that felt like and what tension and resistance feels like. Good. And then go over to the memory of feeling tension and flow. Anytime in your life where you've experienced tension, it just seemed to flow. Maybe it was conversations with good friends. Maybe it was one night when you were out meeting girls and everything seemed to work. Maybe it was on a date when everything was magical and perfect. And just feel what that felt like. Ask your body to open. And notice if your body opens a little easier now. If you feel this sense of opening in the heart and the stomach a little easier. And then go back to this sense of tension and resistance again. And welcome that. And maybe you're going to use the same memory. Maybe it's a different memory. Because some of these memories will start to lose power. And just welcome that memory up. Welcome the feeling up. You can even use your imagination and picture yourself doing something that was maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone. Like walking up and saying hi to somebody that's maybe what you normally consider a little bit scary. Or doing something that's a little bit more uncomfortable than you're used to. And then welcome that tension. And see if you can just stay open a little bit. Even if you want to close, just stay open a little bit. You don't have to do it much. Don't try to force anything. Whatever your body wants to do, allow it to naturally do. If it shuts down completely, see if it's willing to open just a little bit. And then welcome that feeling. Good, good. And then just see if you can become a little bit more comfortable in that. And then go to a time when everything flowed again and welcome that. And ask your body to let go and open. And feel that sense of flow through your whole body. And notice what that feels like. And notice what it feels like to let your body flow with all the feelings, sensations at that time, that everything seemed to work. Everything felt great. And then go back to a sense of tension and resistance again. And notice what that feels like. Maybe it's a new memory, maybe it's the same memory. Just welcome it up. And welcome all the thoughts, sounds, images, sensations through the body that come up with it. And ask your body to stay open as much as it's willing without forcing. And notice what that feels like. Perfect. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that. And then go back to the feeling of tension and flow again. The sense of when tension's just right, like getting that perfect massage, or like being on a surfboard and surfing a wave, or body surfing, or something that is an experience you've had in your life where everything just flowed. And feel what it's like to feel that flow, riding with the energy. And then go back to that sense of tension and resistance again, feeling the resistance, and feel with the whole front of your body, and feel it start to relax a little bit into it as much as it's willing without pushing. Even 1% is huge. A spark can create a huge fire in no time. And a spark would even be less than 1% of that fire, but it grows fast. So just welcome the tiniest little spark inside your body of growth. And see if you can feel your body just relax a little bit more into that feeling. And then go back to that sense of tension and flow again. And feel the time that maybe you felt that perfect amount of tension where everything seemed to flow. Maybe it was sexual tension with eye contact, where there was just charge between you two that was beautiful. It was perfect. Maybe it was something else. And then let that go and go back to the tension and resistance again. And one more time, feel that tension and resistance. And then ask yourself to relax into your body a little bit more. And see if you can get just a little bit lighter in feeling whatever memory, story, thoughts, sensations come up. And then go back to this sense of tension and flow again, and welcome that. And welcome what that feels like. And notice what it's like to just ride the wave of tension, to work with it, to enjoy it, to allow it to flow from you through the world, or through you through the world, almost like you're a conduit for the energy, just passing through you. And then relax again, relax completely, and just ask your body to let it all go. All these concepts, all these stories, all these ideas, all these memories, and just see if you can get a sense of just letting go, a sense of relaxing, and maybe getting a little lighter again. And just allow yourself to play with that. And that's, again, playing with both sides of the polarity. Notice what that feels like. And notice what it feels like to let it all go, the whole polarity, and the whole idea of it all. Because as the polarity begins to collapse, you begin to experience more freedom. I hope you're enjoying this. This is something I don't usually do on video, because I usually do it directly with the person and watch their feedback so I can adjust for them and how much they're used to it. So definitely I got somebody else reading the comments, so let them know if you're liking this or not. There's many versions of it. I'm really going to probably primarily stick to the polarity-based one today, but there's other ways to do it too, and we can play with that at a later date if it's something you like. Okay, next question. Oh, it's perfect. It goes with what we just did. I hate tension. I have always avoided it like the plague, not just with women, but in life in general. I can't even remember the last time I raised my voice at anyone. It's been several years. I'm always nice to people. If I sense tension building, I diffuse it however I need to. I can't stand it. But because I'm such a nice guy, I get treated like wallpaper with women. Well, that kind of plays into everything we just talked about, doesn't it? Tension is, there's not really a question now, it's more of a statement, but your, what happened there is most likely you got raised in a way where tension was not rewarded in your household, where there was probably conflict. And well, let me give you an example. And this is going to relate to some of you, and some of the rest of you, it might relate 50%, it might relate 100%. Some people are worse with tension than others. But typically, in somebody that has real bad time with tension, they grew up in a household where there was a lot of unstable parenting, primary caretaker, let's say. Could be secondary caretaker too, where there was a lot of unstable emotions, and the emotions went up and down, and you never knew when they were going to change. An example of this could be an alcoholic. It could be somebody that's bipolar. It could be somebody that's just emotionally unstable. And so whenever the child is coming home, the child doesn't know what the emotional state of that person is going to be. Is that person in a good mood today? Are they happy? Are they in a bad mood? Are they in a good mood when I come home, and then 10 minutes later they're yelling at me for something that I don't even know how it happened? Because the parent is constantly always changing. The next thing that happens is keep, because part of growth and part of good parenting is there's going to be conflict in life. We can't get away from that. There's going to be tension. But in good parenting, there's conflict, and then there's good conflict resolution, where the child learns to resolve conflict and from it grow, and it deepens the bond between the parent and the child through that growth. And it's part of a process of life that we learn. It's a coping mechanism, or a mechanism that we learn and then we take out into the world. And we learn to step into conflict. We learn to resolve conflict, and in that we grow deeper with our future partners, with business partners, and people like that. We don't run from it, because it's impossible to run from conflict. If you run from it, it will chase you, because it's a part of life. So this unstable parenting then causes a lot of conflict, and it's all over the place, and it's erratic. So the child can't predict when this is going to happen anymore. And so the child starts to learn to become more of a chameleon, adjusting to each one of these little conflicts, one at a time, and trying to be exactly what the parent needs at any given moment, learning to have a tone of voice that's soothing, learning to, where's my parent today? Are they happy? Do I need to be this way? Are they sad? Do I need to be this way? And they're learning to constantly adjust to make that caretaker, secondary caretaker, happy and feel really good. And in that becomes kind of embedded inside them. The next part of it is the caretaker is not good at conflict resolution. Matter of fact, they might go the other direction, and when they're mad at the child because the child didn't do something they wanted to do, which is part of being a child, they use guilt or shame. They shame the child or guilt the child, or they withhold the resolution, maybe sometimes for days on end, to try to punish the child, to teach them, next time I don't want you to do that. And the child just learns again to become more of that chameleon. Who do I need to be to keep this person happy so I can survive in this household? And they learn this through instinct, through their body. And then as they get older, they tend to start thinking more and more, and they start to analyze everything more and more. And then they take that into the world, and they say, who do I need to be to make my partner happy? Who do I need to be to make my boss happy? Who do I need to be? And then pretty soon they start to realize they're tired. They're tired of trying to make everybody happy. It burns them out. Matter of fact, it's making them miserable, and they're not going anywhere in life. And this is all part of the nice guy syndrome. So hopefully that answered that one. Doing a little bit of definitely releasing on tension in this area is huge. Releasing on the idea that you can't handle the tension, because you can. You're built to handle it. Every human being is. We're built to be able to step into it, learn to let it go, learn to process it, learn to meet people in the middle, and learn to grow from it. Because in tension, this is the example. In that tension, that's where we grow. We need it to grow. That's why it's there in nature. Just go out and take, for whoever wrote this and everybody that's wondering about this or having these experiences, just go out in nature and look. Tension's everywhere. If you plant a seed in the ground, I give this example all the time, the seed is buried under the dirt, in the cold and damp, dark dirt. And what happens is that plant, let's say it's a tree that's going to grow out of the seed. That tree has to bust through the shell of the seed, and then it starts digging downward into the dirt, not upward first, downward, digging roots. And it's the pressure of that dirt that gives it what it needs to be able to birth itself, and then it has to start digging upwards and through the dirt, and it grows, and it's always rooted in that tension of that dirt. Matter of fact, it gets fed from that tension. Its nutrients come in through that. Water comes in through that. It's part of its life cycle. Then when it breaks free from the dirt and it starts to grow into a tree and a tree trunk, it has to go through the seasons. Maybe it goes through freezing cold winters. Maybe it goes through really hot summers. Maybe it goes through rain, sleet, hail, wind. It goes through all these different things that test it and make it stronger. But because of all that, it gets bigger and stronger, and it grows. It also goes through beautiful conditions, not just bad ones, beautiful conditions that feed it, that nurture it. And so when you see this in the world, you start to realize that this is the cycle of life everywhere. You want to grow muscles. I talked about this earlier. You lift weights to put tension on the body, but you also rest and you sleep, and then you feed the body healthy food. You need all of this. And these cycles cause us to grow. If you want to get an education in something, you have to study and put tension on the mind and the brain. Then you have to rest, so all that stuff can seep in, and new realizations can come to you, and new understandings. You have to put it into actual practice where you actually use it, more tension, right? And so there's all these different processes we have to go through to build our reality. So if you spend your life trying to get out of these tensions, which is what nice guys do, tension's going to chase you. Think about a homeless person for a minute. A homeless person is the person who's trying to avoid the most tension in life. Usually, I'm not saying always, but usually, they don't want to do anything because it's I'm just going to sit here, and I think specifically this one homeless guy I see all the time, and he's super shy, and he's super scared to even raise his voice. He's a young guy, but he's really timid, and he won't look up at you. He looks down. He's really shy, and he's avoiding every bit of tension. And somebody might say, oh, he's free. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have to do anything. And I'm like, is that free? He probably sleeps in an alley somewhere. Maybe he's at a homeless shelter. I don't know. But he can't go into a fine restaurant. He can't stay in a nice hotel. He can't take a trip anywhere he wants. He can't enjoy life. Matter of fact, I doubt he's got anybody in his life, female-wise, or anybody that he's intimate with, because he's so shy, even as a homeless guy. Then you look at somebody who steps into a lot of tension, somebody like Richard Branson, where $7 billion started Virgin Airlines. And if you read his autobiography, Losing My Virginity, you'll see right from day one, the guy craved tension. He was taught it as a child to love it by his parents. And that was his upbringing, the opposite of the nice guy syndrome. Still a really nice guy, but by choice. And he goes out there and he makes stuff happen. He started a student magazine while he was in high school, and that magazine grew into a huge business after high school. And then he started selling records in the back of his magazines. And then next thing you know, he's got a Virgin Record stores. Next thing you know, he's got Virgin Record label where he produced all kinds of famous artists, musicians. Then next thing you know, it just continues on. And everything that's got a Virgin label on it, at some level, he's had something to do with, because he craves that next bit of tension, going for it. And he did all kinds of other stuff too, where he was working on breaking records, trying to sell a hot air balloon around the world, and sell something to do with a boat, trying to race it across an ocean. I can't remember what ocean, so don't quote me on that one. But I mean, it definitely something like that happened, where he was racing this boat, trying to be the first person to get across this ocean through huge waves. And you just read the book, Losing My Virginity. It's pretty crazy. And you'll see how this guy just thrived in all this tension. And so as soon as you start to find that sweet spot, you're not going to be able to play with that much tension right away. You have to build up to it, but a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. Okay. So let's go to the next one. My emotionality, abuse, I got it. My emotionally abusive parents taught me to hate tension and conflict, and I really don't know how to move past this. Sometimes you guys write in such weird ways that I always think I'm going to have to decipher what somebody wrote, and that guy actually wrote it perfectly. My emotionally abusive parents taught me to hate tension and conflict, and I really don't know how to move past this. And I've already been talking about that a lot, but it's by playing with a little bit of tension at a time. It's by getting a journal. This is like one of the most important things. Get a journal and start writing down all of the places you're avoiding tension, and notice them. Like, you can go out, there's two ways to do this. You can do like 5 things a day where you pick 5 areas you're avoiding tension, and then write down something specific in that area. If it's approaching women, you say, I see a beautiful woman over there, I'm afraid to approach her. And then notice the fear level of that is on a scale of 0 to 10. If it's a 10, that's I can't do it. A 0 means there's no tension at all. And notice what you feel. And if you write down a 10, then going to approach her is going to be too much. It's like lifting too much weight. So then what you do is you find something that's around a 6 or a 7, and you go do it. Walk over there. Do that approach at a 6 or a 7. Maybe it's just asking the time. Maybe it's asking directions. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be flirting with a girl. It can be in business. It can be in health. It can be in all kinds of areas. Even a 5 is fine. Do something that's a 5. And then write down after you do it in the journal what you learned from it, how it helped you to grow, what you realized. Not what went wrong, not how you should have done this better, but what grew you from doing that. And then at the end of the day, sit down and go through it again, read through it. And notice the level of tension and ask your body, again, can you relax into it? With each one, ask yourself to let go a little bit. Say, can I welcome this level of tension? Just ask your body. And then welcome up in your body whatever comes from that. Can I welcome up whatever came from this experience today? Can I allow my body to feel it? Can you see all the images, thoughts, feelings, and sensations that go with that? And then just sit in that for a moment and notice what that feels like. And then welcome up where there's any resistance, even if it's at a 5 or a 6. What is the resistance? And just notice what it is. And whatever it is, notice the emotion involved in it. Is there some sadness or some fear? Could be courage even. Doesn't matter what it is, wherever the emotion is, just notice what it is. Could be judgment. Could be pride. I shouldn't have to do this. Just notice however you interpret the emotion, however you interpret the feelings. And then ask yourself, can I let this go? Can I just let this go? And ask your heart to open again, this whole front of your body. Can you just let this go? And then notice what your body does. And then ask if you can let a little bit more go. And then a little bit more. And then invite it up again. Can I bring this up again? Can I notice what I'm feeling? And then welcome whatever else comes up. And then ask yourself what emotional experience you're having again. Don't get all heavy about it. Stay disassociated a little bit, just back a little bit, looking at it, feeling your body. And then ask yourself, can you let that go? And then notice how you feel. If you want to, you can ask if you can let a little bit more go. And then a little bit more. And a little bit more. And then just notice if you feel a little bit lighter again. And that's the key. Every time you feel a little bit lighter, you're growing. You may not change right away. It may take some time, just like lifting weights, to see the results. But in time, you'll start to see more and more shifts if you do this every day. Now, if you do 5 areas like this, you write down 5 areas where you're resisting the tension, and you step into it a little bit, and then you write down how you grew from it. You do a little release on it, and the next day you do it again. The next day you do it again. Watch what happens to your life inside of a month, 2 months, 3 months. I had a guy who did this. He didn't even do the releasing part. He just wrote down in the journal, because I didn't teach him the releasing part at that time. And inside of a very short period of time, he had a new amazing girlfriend, a new job. He was making 9,000 euros more a month, more a year, excuse me. But yeah, amazing was a month. Maybe it is by now. And they moved in together. He said his whole life really had changed. He said there were so many changes, it was ridiculous. And he was really, really, really happy with the results. So another way that I do that same journal process is I go out and I do it by the hour. I'll go out and for 1 hour straight, I'll sit there, and it could be a half hour. And I walk down through a mall or someplace that's got a lot of energy and some stuff going on. And I notice all the places I'm avoiding tension. And I just go take an action. I step into it. I notice something that's like, I try to find things that are a 6 or a 7. I take an action. I take an action. I take an action. I write down what I learned. I write down what I learned. If you do that for a half hour to an hour straight, and you're playing right at the right range for you, you're going to feel a hell of a rush from that. It's going to feel really good. And then sit down and relax and enjoy that rush. Take a conscious acknowledgement of the flow through your body, because that's your body expanding, that's your body growing, that's your self-love increasing. Okay. So let's go to the next one. This is the last one I've got here. Any advice on this? I've been told that probably 6 times by women comes from growing up in an all-female household where if I didn't do what my mother wanted, she wouldn't talk to me for 2 days. And having an older sister who'd blame me for almost all of our problems growing up. Everything was great until you came along, example, stuff like that. Women are so perceptive. One little sign of weakness and they're gone. I hate myself because of it, and it's been a major stress in my life. So I get that. I think the question here, or the question here is, what do you do? Let me take another look at this. I don't know what he's referring to about 6 times by women. Where if I didn't do what the mother wanted, she wouldn't talk. So basically, if you didn't do what the mother wanted, she wouldn't talk to you for 2 days. So that's abandonment. It's an emotional abandonment. And having an older sister who'd blame me for almost everything. So an older sister that constantly picked on you because she learned that from mom. She learned obviously they're using guilt here to control you. And she learned that from mom. And so perceptive, one little sign of weakness and they're gone. They would abandon you. So you had a lot of emotional abandonment from women, from your mom and your sister growing up. And this is, and I don't want to blame women here. This isn't women. This is an individual thing. Certain people do this. Now, what's the opportunity here for you? The opportunity here for you is to have some serious growth. By having this emotional abandonment, if you choose to grow out of it and learn from it, you become so much more emotionally adept than most men out there. It's a training ground to really help move you to a higher, more evolved masculine figure. And so don't look at it as a bad thing. You have all the power to create your life any way you want. Any way you want. Yes, that might have happened to you when you were too young to make those choices, but now that you're an adult, you can shift all of that. And I want you to accept the responsibility for creating your life the way you want now that you're an adult. You don't have to hate them for it. They did the best they could with what they knew how to do. Your mom on some level was taught that's how you raise children. Not that it's not the right way, but that's what she was taught. My mother did the same thing, and I love my mom. Now, what you actually feel towards your mom is a whole different story. I don't want you to censor that when you work. If you feel anger, you feel resentment, you feel like you hate her, that has to be processed. So if you sit there and say, well, I shouldn't hate my mom, she's my mom, that's not going to help you to process it. You have to be real about what you feel, but be detached enough to where you don't get identified with it. You don't become it. You don't sit there and go, oh, I hate you. You have to go yell at mom, I hate you. You just learn to process the emotions. You learn to process them by feeling them and working through them. Now, the problem you had is she emotionally abandoned you. And your sister did too, by using guilt to control you. And so that emotional abandonment, when they walk away for 2 days, is not teaching conflict resolution. That's not, I don't want you to think that all women are like that. You may be drawing women into your life that are like that because that's what you expect from women. So what you do is you go out and sort subconsciously for those women, and you get that experience over and over and over again. Once you heal this part of your heart, wounded heart, your life, your emotional self, then what happens is a different type of woman shows up in your life. Just like when a woman chooses, gets a physically abusive man in her life, and then she keeps drawing that physically abusive man over and over and over again. Maybe she's had 2 or 3 or 4 of them in her life, doesn't understand why, and she starts to think all men are physically abusive. Well, it's not true. There's plenty, actually the majority of women aren't beating women up. That would be a horrible thing. And so we start to learn that we have the ability to sort and find these people because we have so much ability to draw what we're afraid of into our lives. If you fear it, if you really fear it a lot, there's a chance that you're going to start to pull it into your life. So start learning to process that fear out of your life and these experiences out of your life, and start learning to let it go. And yes, women can read you like the book. That's part of the feminine quality. If the more feminine are, the more they can read you. So With this said, this is a big topic for you, and I highly recommend that you take a deeper look at doing probably a lot more work in this area. A few releases aren't going to change this. Matter of fact, for none of you, a few releases aren't going to, well, that's not true. A few releases could have a huge effect on a person, but it might take quite a few over a period of time and learning more about this process. Okay. So with that said, what I recommend for you is if you can get out, and this is, and with all sincerity, if you can get out to a live event or get to one of our live events, come out and meet with us, because I'd love to talk with you a little bit more about that experience. Because you have to process all that out of your nervous system, and we do have one coming up pretty soon. I'll talk about it at the end of the call. And with that said, doing a lot of releasing in this area can help. Learning to step into tension in this area can help. But learning to open your heart and learning to let go of the need to be abandoned is going to be the biggest piece. Becoming really honest about what you're feeling. So the process of opening your heart and going through, starting with the simple memories of what your experience was. Can you welcome that sense of being punished by your mother, being punished by your mother for what you did? And just welcome that sense in. And notice what it feels like. And just welcome it a little bit at a time, or you can welcome it a lot, whatever your body can handle. And begin to feel straight through the body again, and don't do it from your head. And notice whatever comes up for you. Is it a sense of abandonment? Is it a sense of anger? Is it a sense of frustration? And just welcome it up. And just sit with it for a moment. And then ask yourself, and I'm going to do this a little different this time. Ask yourself, is there any sense of wanting to do something with or about this experience? Are you wanting to control it in some way? Like, I want to push it down. I want to get rid of it. I want to manipulate the feeling. Just notice if there's any sense of that. Is there any sense of wanting approval from your mother, or wanting to push your mother's approval away, or somebody else's? Maybe another past relationship. Is there any sense of wanting security? Wanting to survive? Or wanting to just end it all and quit? And just welcome that feeling up, wanting to stop it all, like I'm going to push it away and end this. Is there any sense of wanting separation, wanting to be alone? Or is there any sense of wanting oneness? I really want somebody to love me, hold me. And just welcome all of that up. And notice which one is coming up the most, and pick that one out of everything I just said. And then just ask your body if you can let it go. Can I let go of any of this wanting that's coming up inside me? Can you let it go? And can you let a little bit more go? And a little bit more. And then ask yourself if you can let go of the experience itself. And just notice what your body does. Does it start to feel a little lighter? And notice the emotions and sensations and the feelings that might start to loosen a little bit, or start to release. Maybe they release completely. Maybe they only release a little bit. And just notice what that feels like. And then go back to the beginning again. Can I welcome up this experience that I had with my mother, my sister, or an ex-girlfriend? Can I notice what I'm feeling? All the emotions, sensations, the experience. Can I feel my heart? Can I feel my stomach? Can I feel my body while doing this? Letting go of all thinking about it, feeling the emotional experience. And then ask yourself, can you let go? Can you notice any wanting to do anything with or about it? Wanting to control the experience by getting rid of it, pushing it out, or trying to process it in some way. And just let that be. Is there any wanting for approval from this person, or disapproval, pushing Or is there any want to push the approval away? Is there any wanting for security to survive? Is there any wanting for separation? Is there any wanting for oneness with this person? Whichever one stands out, just notice it. Then ask, can I let that go? Can you let that experience go, that wanting? Can you just let it go? And then ask yourself, can you let the whole memory go? Just let the emotions, the feelings, the sensations of the memory just leave your body. And maybe you only let a little bit go. Maybe you let the whole thing go. Just notice if you start to feel a little lighter. Then you go back and start again at the beginning. And you can do this process over and over. I would recommend doing it for a little bit. Do it 10 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, until you start to feel a sense of relief in this area, until you start to feel a sense of relaxation, until you start to feel your body letting go and loosening up. And start to notice how your body processes this. Now, this is the first time I've ever played with doing some releasing with you guys on a live feed. We only did a little bit so far. I want to know if this is something that's helping you guys, that you're enjoying. Do you have any questions about it? Do you have any questions about the nice guy syndrome? Anything else coming up at this point? Because I want to dig in a little bit deeper. Now, I only did 2 rounds of that time. I recommend you keep doing it for a bit, and you'll start to feel just a little bit lighter, or a little bit looser, a little bit more relaxed, especially if you're feeling the core of your body. If you're thinking about it and analyzing it, you're not going to. You're actually going to get more frustrated, more identified with it. You have to actually relax into your body more and more to cause this sensation of feeling a little lighter and letting go. Because what happens is we store the thoughts and memories. Yeah, they're encoded through neural pathways, but then we have feelings all through our bodies that kind of hold them in place, the emotions that are being pumped in and through the body. And you have to kind of feel the body to make that disconnect. And what I notice is a lot of guys do work where they do belief work, but they do it all from their head analytically. And then they wonder why they get so frustrated doing it, or it starts to fail them, or it stops working. The moment you get so good at something that you're analyzing it, thinking about it, and processing it from your analytical mind, it's going to start to fail you. It's not going to work anymore. All the different types of releasing work. I don't care if it's NLP, hypnosis, theta healing, EFT, they all cause your body to start letting go. And the key is, though, you have to feel the whole body, and you have to be in a slightly relaxed or meditative, even meditative state if you can while you do it, because that's what's going to cause the body to start letting go. If you have trouble in this area relaxing, and I know this question's probably come up, I can't feel anything, stuff like that, especially for analytical guys, then you want to take up a basic meditation process. Find any meditation process. You could even get binaural beats or something like that, and start teaching your body to relax. And then you can come back to these processes. And when you start to relax into the body and you stop thinking so much, you're going to notice these processes all work 10 times better. You start to get more releases, more feelings of letting go, more feelings of relaxing into your body. With that said, I want to check with Dave over here and see if any questions are coming up. We got anything coming in?
I got one question here. And it's from Ahmed, and he's been very persistent about having this question answered. So
okay. Ahmed, we're going to answer your question right now. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to answer it.
We're gonna go for it. He wants to know how to feel enough when you have major flaws. Like, how can I feel enough before even fixing those flaws? Because he currently thinks that him not being enough is the cause of his nice guy syndrome.
Okay. So the question is, in case you didn't hear it, is say it one more time. How am I to be enough?
Currently, he's feeling that he's having trouble feeling enough.
Having trouble feeling enough.
With his perceived major flaws.
With his perceived major flaws.
And how can he feel enough before even attempting to fix those perceived flaws?
How can he feel enough before attempting to fix those flaws? It's actually a very good question. And it's actually a deep insight. Because the real answer to all personal growth is not fixing the flaws, because you will have flaws the rest of your life. The rest of your life, there's always going to be some area you want to improve. If you fix the current challenges you have now, you'll find new challenges that you want to overcome. And you'll always have this the rest of your life. So the real key to success is not feeling like you're broken, but feeling like you're perfect just the way you are, no matter where you're at, because you are. Because on some level, there's somebody worse than you, no matter where you're at, and there's somebody better than you, no matter where you're at something. And you're just on a spectrum of growth, on a line of growth. And the big changes that happen in people's lives come the moment they realize that they're perfectly imperfect. They'll never reach that perfect state, and there'll always be something to improve. And so in that, they're already perfect right where they're at. And the moment they realize that they're not trying to fix anything anymore, that they're just learning to grow. See, a tree constantly grows, but a tree never thinks it's fixing itself. When it's just sprouting through the ground, it doesn't think it's broken because it's not a full-grown tree yet. It's just part of its growth process. If a branch grows a weird way, that's just a part of the tree. That's part of the aspects of this tree, the unique nature of it. It's not broken. It's the same thing with a dog. If a dog loses a limb, have you ever seen these dogs with 3 limbs? They're amazing because they recover from it and they start running around on 3 limbs like they don't know they're not supposed to have 3 limbs. It's just part of their life now. They don't sit and worry about it, and they're happy as can be. They're not like us where they can sit and tool over their memories about what happened and feel bad for themselves. They just get over it. They're not broken. They're just a dog with 3 limbs now. That's who they are. And it's beautiful. So learning to accept yourself right where you're at, realizing you're enough, is huge. And you can do the same process I just talked about with that. And there's a lot of processes you can do. But looking at your life and saying, and looking at how you feel like you're not enough, and just welcoming that. And then welcoming being enough. So sit there and just sit down and feel all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, sensations around not being enough, around not being good enough, around the sensation of being broken, and welcome that. And ask your body to relax into that feeling. And notice how much you can relax into it. Can you feel your heart? Can you feel your stomach? For a lot of the guys, you're going to feel a lot in the stomach. If you get down into this part of your body, it's going to start to feel really strange. Probably your heart too. But the stomach is a huge self-esteem point. And just notice what you feel. And then welcome all those sensations. And notice what's coming up for you. Notice the pictures, thoughts, images, sensations. And then welcome the part of you that is already enough, even if it's only 1%. And there is a part of you that is enough. Because you have every experience in the world already in your nervous system, potential for. So welcome the part of you that already knows you're enough, even if it's really tiny. And then sit in that for a moment and notice what that feels like. What does it feel like to give your nervous system the experience, even if it's really small, that you're already enough? And just feel that for a moment. Nurture that. Welcome that. Welcome it into your body. And then welcome into your body the experience of not being enough. And welcome all the thoughts, feelings, and images that come up with that. And then welcome into your body the experience of being enough, or anytime you felt like you were enough, that maybe it was a perfect moment and perfect memories where everything just went right. And you felt like everything was great in that moment. And just welcome those feelings. And then welcome the feelings of not being enough again. And notice what those feel like. All the pictures, thoughts, and images and sensations. All the emotions. And then just let that dissolve and welcome all the feelings of being enough. Pictures, thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, whatever comes up naturally. Even if you have to nurture it along a little bit at a time. Don't try to force. Just relax. And then even let that dissolve and let that go. And then go back to welcoming the feeling of not being enough. And notice what that feels like. All the thoughts, images, sensations, emotions. And then welcome the feeling of being enough, maybe even more than enough. And notice what that feels like. And see if you can just let that expand, even if it's just a little bit more. Noticing any thoughts, feelings, or images that come up. And then welcome all the feelings or sensations of not being enough again. Notice all the images, thoughts, feelings, sensations that come up. The emotions. And then ask your body to let that dissolve. Continue to feel down the front of your body. And then welcome all the feelings of being enough. Maybe even memories, thoughts, feelings, emotions that start to come up. Maybe even more than enough. Perfectly imperfect, just the way you are. And just let that sink into your body, just like you see it in nature. You don't see nature running around saying it's not enough. You see nature being perfect just the way it is, accepting itself just the way it is. Then ask your body to let it all dissolve and just become present in this moment. And just allow yourself to relax and let it all go. Don't try to hold on to any of it. Anything you hold on to will eventually start to die. So you have to let everything go, even the good. You have to constantly let everything flow through you, not trying to capture it. So it's not about holding on to a feeling. It's about enjoying the feelings and the emotions running through you like you're on a ride. And you're just observing. You're the watcher of this experience. You're just experiencing all these emotions, sensations, and everything running through you. And what you're learning to do slowly is just let them go. Is letting them go. Because what you're doing right now, the reason you don't feel like you're enough is you're holding on somehow to all the experiences from your past where you bought into the idea that you weren't enough. Where somebody told you that, you bought into their reality, or you got it from some commercial or some TV show or from some friend or something like that. Somewhere along the lines, you bought into this idea and you started holding on to these ideas, trying to fix them. But you're learning to relax and let them all go. And as you let them all go, you start to realize more and more that you're more than enough, and you've always been more than enough, because that's our nature. Once we are no longer attached, Buddha said that the source of all suffering is attachment. No longer we're holding on to all kinds of different concepts about ourselves, and we're no longer attached to all these concepts, the more happy we become, the more free. That's our natural state. Once you're no longer attached to all these memories and these experiences, these ideas and concepts, you actually just naturally become happier. This is why you don't even need to hold on to happiness, because it is your natural state. So that's just one exercise. There's a lot of ways you can work on feeling like you're enough. And I talked about stepping into tension and the journal and journaling. I talked about this is just one exercise. As you learn more and more these experiences, you'll start to understand more and more that all of this work starts to take you to that idea. All goal setting is the experience to move through, if you're doing it right. If you're not just doing goal setting just to get the goal, if you're actually setting goals to get past all the bullshit between you and the goal, you're actually letting go of a lot of attachments along the way. Otherwise, you won't be able to receive the goal. It's the goal itself is not important, it's the journey. And as you let go of all your attachments and your bullshit to receiving experiences into your life, more into your life, you're actually healing a lot of old wounds. If you're doing it the state pumpy way, where you're actually state pumping and pushing yourself to the goal, you'll most likely have a crash later because you'll push your way, like, I'm going to make myself make $1 million, and you obsess and push, make your $1 million, or get your hot girl, or whatever it is. And then when you relax because you finally got there and all that pushing wears off, you kind of crash again. And so that's the other way to do it. I don't recommend that way. It's no fun. I've done it. I did it hard too. So I've learned to, in a sense, relax my way into success, ease my way into success more and more. Yes, there is some pushing, but the only reason I push is like lifting weights, just a little bit at the sweet spot, so I can bring up my stories between me and what I want to achieve and let them go. And then it starts to get easier and easier again. So is there any other questions coming up? Okay. There's many techniques out there for letting go. And so I recommend either reading the book Letting Go by David Hawkins or getting into one of our seminars where we can go into more detail about this stuff. And hopefully we can put out some more videos on releasing and processing emotions that are stuck in the body. We do have an event coming up in about 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks. It's going to be, what's the date of Fearless Man Live?
March 25th and 26th.
It's March 25th and 26th. It's a live event we're doing right here in Los Angeles, actually in Santa Monica, California, right by 3rd Street Promenade, right by the beach. Beautiful women, beautiful, there's a link already in the comment section, but it's a beautiful, beautiful area. If you've never been out here, you got to check it out. I'm lucky enough to live about 4 miles from that area. And I love to go down there. It's one of my favorite places to hang out because the view, the experiences are all very amazing. So if you can get out here, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. The event currently is it still the same price? $297. So it's an inexpensive event as far as I'm concerned. My very first workshop cost me $2,600. And it was just a bunch of techniques and routines on how to go meet girls. My first workshop in dating, that is. And this event's going to be where we're going to do live demos of tension, playing with tension, teaching you about the sweet spot we just talked about, answering all your questions, bringing the models out so you can see the models work, really getting in depth with a lot of this material, learning to process what's in your nervous system. Also, a chance for you to ask models questions, ask me questions, ask Dave questions, get the experience directly from us of what you need done. And when I can see you, I can give you much better answers than when I'm answering questions through a comment section. I'm going based on the idea of what you might be like, but seeing you is a whole different story. So I highly recommend you get out here if you can. The other thing that comes with it is that we're going to have some of the advanced students who've done a lot of work with us be there, and they're going to get up and tell their stories. And you get a story from somebody who's done recent work, who's gone from here to here, and you get to see their growth. You get to see and hear their experiences and what changed them and the reality of how they created it. So far, I think it's going to be a good size workshop. There's going to be a chance for you to meet a lot of like-minded people. This is another thing that's very important. The people you surround yourself are going to be equal to the success you have. So in the next 3 to 5 years, if you want to know what your lifestyle is going to be like, look at your top 5 people you hang around with. If they're not going anywhere in life, then you need to bring some new people into your life. I'm not saying you have to get rid of everybody, but if somebody's really being negative, you might want to consider it. But you definitely need to bring people into your life that are heading in the direction you want. That's how I've gotten everywhere. I surround myself with people that are like-minded. So I go take their workshops, I take their seminars, I make friends, I meet like-minded people at the seminars, I go other places where the people like that hang out. And I built lifelong relationships and friendships from doing this. And it's changed every part of my life. I've gone from impoverished to making good money. I've gone from being somebody that wished he could travel to traveling constantly all around the globe. I've gone from somebody who worked in a cubicle, who hated his life, to wanting to be able to work from coffee shops, living all around the world. And I've done that many times over. I don't spend as much time in the coffee shops anymore, but I would sit there. I remember one day where I was sitting in the coffee shop working, making my living, way better than any money I'd ever made before in my life, working in a cubicle, and saying to myself, oh, I didn't even realize I created this, but I've already created it. From not being able to get a date to dating amazing, beautiful, awesome women. So what I want to say to you guys is, if you really are committed to stepping into tension, you're really committed to really learning how to handle tension and how to change your life, how to change it for real. I mean, really the subtle communication that causes huge effect in a man's life, then get out to this event. For only $297, it's worth it. And if you haven't spent much time in California, then coming out to California is just the added bonus of hanging out in this area, because it's a beautiful area. So with that said, click the link, check it out, take action right now. Don't wait, because men that are successful, Napoleon Hill, as he stated, said that men that are really successful, after he studied 500 of the top most successful men in the world, that all of them basically took action quickly and changed their mind slowly, if ever at all. They got into the tension and they committed to it, and that's what made big, huge changes in their lives. So the moment you take action is the moment you step into the tension. It's the moment your life starts changing. It's the moment that seed gets buried and it starts to grow, starts to dig roots. So get in there, make a commitment, and meet me in person, and so I can answer your questions in person. With that said, is there anything else?
There's one guy from Irvine that's interested in coming out to the
Awesome.
workshop. His name's Blackburn, so it would be great if he came out.
Blackburn, it would be awesome to have you at the workshop if you can make it out. I know you're not too far away over there in Irvine. I used to work there actually. When I had my cubicle hell, I call it, my time period I spent in prison in the cubicle, it was in Irvine. And I like the Irvine area. I don't have a problem. It's a very beautiful area. But when I spent all day sitting inside of an office building, inside of a cubicle, looking out smoked glass windows, wishing I could be out there in the sun playing, and it was just, and you knew there was a beach a few miles away, and it was gorgeous. It was frustrating, and that's part of what got me determined, willing to do what I had to do. Matter of fact, that's where I began my journey. While I was working in that cubicle in Irvine, I took a hypnosis program in Tarzana, and I would drive after work from Irvine to Tarzana every day. And for those of you that don't know, that's had to be, I think it was over an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour drive, and in the traffic after work, and then a little over an hour on the way home at night. But I was committed, and I did that for a year, and I did that about 3 or 4 days a week because I was ready to make a change, and that was me stepping into tension, saying, "What do I need to do?" And that's the first thing that came up for me. So again, the link's in the comment section. Check it out. If you just clicking on right now, make sure you go back and watch the replay of this video because we're ending, and there's a lot of great stuff in it, a little more in depth than usual. And I definitely want to hear your comments on what you thought of the releasing. I don't usually do that. If you like that, we can go deeper into those principles and concepts and topics a little bit, and we can play with that a little bit more. I kind of wanted to play with it tonight and see what you guys thought. Usually I only do that live and in person with people, so I can really gauge the response and play off the energy. But you guys were my test group tonight. So I hope you guys have a beautiful night. Blackburn, I hope to see you at the event so I can ask your questions in person, and make sure you introduce yourself when you're there. And with that said, I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great night, and I'll see you next week at the next live broadcast. And if you sign up, I'll see you the week after that in person in Santa Monica. Take care.